on pre-listing essentials. Today, we're going to walk through the essential checklist that you need to complete before you start listing products on amazon.co.za. And you can think of this like your pre-flight checklist. Completing these steps now will save you time and frustration later. And by the end of today's session, you'll know exactly what you need to have in place before you create your first listing. But before we get started today, let me quickly run through our house rules so that we can make the most of our time together. First, all our participants are automatically muted and cameras are off. This is normal, so don't worry about that. Secondly, please drop your questions in the chat as we go through today's webinar. You don't need to wait until the end, and my moderators and I will be keeping an eye on the chat throughout, and we will address the most trending questions as they come up. Third, if you miss anything today, do not stress. A version of this session will be available on our Seller University YouTube channel for a limited time called Sell on Amazon South Africa, and that link will be in the chat box below. And finally, if you want any additional help after today, check out our service provider network, which I'll explain in a little bit more detail shortly. You can connect with vetted professionals who can help with listings, advertising, compliance, and more. And that link is also down below in the chat. Right, so when you get stuck, here is the order of operations. If you follow this, you will get to a resolution much quicker. Your first step is searching Sell Essential, and you can utilize the search bar at the top. Type in your issue in plain language, for example, shipping plan error, listing suppressed, whatever it is, 9 times out of 10, there is a help page that walks you through it. Your second step should be to check Seller University, where we have webinars just like this one, video tutorials, and step-by-step guides covering almost every topic. You are literally in one of these webinars right now. The third step is, if self-service does not resolve it, please contact seller support. You will go to help, then get support. But here is the critical thing: be specific. Include the ASIN, the order ID, or the exact error message that you are seeing. The difference between I have a problem with my listing and I am getting error 5665 when creating a shipping plan for ASIN, blah, 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 is the difference between being bounced around for days and getting an answer in hours. Don't just say it's not working. Tell them what you've tried, what has happened, and what you expected to happen. Treat it almost like you are reporting a bug or going to the doctor. Remember, the more detail, the faster we can get into fixing the issue. And beyond these support resources, let me quickly highlight a couple of key incentives and tools that we have available to all of our amazon.co.za sellers that can help boost your performance and profitability. And before we go into that, I think the most important resource that you could utilize is Seller University, which is your go-to resource about learning everything about selling on amazon.co.za. You'll find comprehensive guides, video tutorials, and step-by-step instructions on topics like listing products, managing inventory, understanding your fees, and optimizing your account. Whether you are brand new to Amazon or looking to level up your skills, Seller University has resources tailor-made for your needs. You can access it anytime at selleressential.amazon.co.za/learn. And we also host regular webinars just like this one, a second one coming up today if you'd like to learn a little bit about how to be deals ready. And you can register for these upcoming sessions directly through Seller University. Another tool that we have for those needing assistance is API integration. And an API, or application programming interface, is a set of rules that allow two pieces of systems to communicate with each other. The benefits of utilizing our APIs can save sellers time by automating your prices, stock, and quantity across channels instead of manually uploading these things, and improve your business operations, or improving rather your business operations, will enable you to manage your stock between multiple sales channels. If you are interested in using any of our API-based applications, visit our Seller Partner App Store within Seller Essential, where you can choose from over 2,500 applications in different categories, for example, product listing, inventory, and shipping and marketing. We also have IP Accelerator or Intellectual Property Accelerator. So if you're looking to protect your brand with a trademark, this program connects you with pre-vetted legal experts who can help you file at competitive rates. And the best part is you can access brand registry benefits while your trademark application is still pending, which means faster brand protection than traditional channels. We also have a couple of fantastic discounts that have been extended that you can take a look at on your screen, available to all amazon.co.za sellers. With regards to our fulfillment fees, we have free FBA storage, removals, picking and packing. We do also have a fantastic inbounding promotion via the 2Ship Amazon Partnered Carrier Program, valid until the 31st of December this year, where you'll get 90% off all inbound shipments to our fulfillment centers. And what does this mean for you? You might be asking. Well, these savings are your opportunity to reinvest in your inventory and stock up on your best sellers, expand your product range and reach more customers, and of course, grow your business without the usual cost barriers. So make the most of these discounts while they last. And I did mention the service provider network a little bit earlier. So what exactly is the service provider network? Simply put, it's your gateway to expert Amazon support. We've built a network of vetted, trusted third-party professionals who specialize in helping sellers succeed on Amazon. And these aren't just any service providers. They're pre-vetted experts with proven track records across more than 14 different service categories, from cataloging and account management to advertising, imaging, FBA preparation, compliance, and tax services. And the beauty of SPN is that it allows you to access specialized expertise so you can focus on what you do best, which is running your business, while experts handle the technical aspects of selling on Amazon. Part of this free listing initiative, or rather part of the service provider network, is our free listing initiative. And through this initiative, you can get between 10 and 100 products listed professionally at absolutely no cost to you. This is 100% Amazon subsidized support that includes professional cataloging with engaging titles and descriptions, expert listing setup and optimization, keyword support, and Amazon listing compliance assistance. So if you'd like, you can take a screenshot or capture that QR code, but don't worry, we will be dropping today's presentation later down in the chat with all of the information, all of the QR codes, and all of this information you'd be able to find on our Seller Central landing pages through the navigation bar at the top as well. Last but not least, we are coming to you live from our Seller Success Center here in Cape Town. And this isn't just a building, it's your partner in growing your Amazon business. Whether you need to help setting up your account, improving your product listings, or building your brand store, our team is here to support you. And while we love seeing sellers in person, we also offer virtual sessions for sellers across South Africa. Simply book a slot online and we'll connect. There is also, or there should be, a link down in the chat below me. And in fact, a lot of the links that I've been talking about, or tools and incentives, are in the links below. But let's get to the reason why we are here. And today's session is structured around 4 main areas. First, we're going to walk through the 5 steps of the pre-listing checklist that every seller should complete before you list your products. Then we'll look at the most common errors sellers encounter and how to resolve these quickly. We'll also share some resources for continued learning. And finally, we'll have time for some of your questions. So please do, I encourage you, ask questions throughout today's session. We will have the time. If you've just joined us, don't worry. Good morning and welcome. I hope you have your cup of tea or coffee with you wherever you are. There will be a version, or there is a version of today's webinar already on our Sell on Amazon University YouTube channel. So if you've missed out on anything, don't stress. We will recap. We're here to answer your questions and help you as best as we can. So without further ado, let's get into it. Before you're listing a single product on Amazon, there are 5 essential steps that you need to complete. These steps will ensure that your listing process goes smoothly and help you avoid common errors that can delay your launch. So let's go through each step in detail, starting with that category eligibility. The first step in your pre-listing checklist is to determine if you can list in your chosen category. Currently, certain categories are not available for listing on amazon.co.za that include large appliances, large furniture, and software. Before you invest in inventory or spend time preparing product information, make sure that your product falls into categories that are currently open for listing. We regularly add new categories, as we have just added apparel as a new category that has launched. So do keep an eye on Seller Central announcements for updates, as well as any communications via email or SMS that we send you. And if you're unsure about your category, you can search for overview of categories in Seller Central Help to see the most current list of available and restricted categories also as well. The second step is to purchase your GS1 barcodes, also known as product IDs or GTINs, GTINs. A product ID or a barcode is a unique identifier assigned to each finished or manufactured product. You can see this code either on the product itself or on the outside packaging. And the most common types include GTINs, EANs, UPCs, which are all 12-digit barcodes, and ISBNs for books. If you are manufacturing your own products or selling private label items, you'll need to purchase these barcodes from gs1.org, which is the official global source for product identifiers. Having valid product IDs is essential for listing on Amazon, so this is a critical step in your preparation. But in some cases, you may need to request a GTIN exemption. And this typically applies if you're selling private label products, handmade items, products without manufacturer-assigned IDs, or bundled packs that you create yourself. And to request this exemption, all you need to do is search for GTIN exemption in the Seller Central help bar that I mentioned earlier at the top of Seller Central. I highly recommend watching the Apply for a Product ID or GTIN exemption video in Seller Central, as it walks you through the entire process step by step. You can also visit the help page titled How to List Products That Do Not Have a GTIN for detailed instructions. And one important thing to note, though, is if your exemption is approved, it will apply to all products under that brand, which can save you time if you're listing multiple items. Let me address some of the most common questions we receive about product IDs. First, where do you get your product ID? If your product already has one from the manufacturer, you'll use that. And if not, you'll purchase them from gs1.org. Second, do you have to purchase through GS1? Yes, GS1 is the official global source, and Amazon requires valid GS1 barcodes. Third, will each product variation have its own product ID? Yes. Each variation, like different sizes or colors, needs its own unique product ID. Fourth, what's the difference between a product ID and an ASIN or a SKU or SKU? Well, the product ID is the manufacturer's barcode, and ASIN is Amazon's unique identifier for a product, and the SKU or the SKU is your internal inventory tracking number. And finally, of course, how do I apply for that GTIN exemption? We just covered that. Search for it in Seller Central Help and watch the Seller Central or Seller University video. If you have any additional questions about product IDs, we can address them in the Q&A section. So definitely drop your questions down in the chat. Step 3 is to get your brand authorized, and Amazon takes brand protection very seriously to ensure customers receive authentic products. Before you can list branded products, you need to prove you have the rights to sell them. There are two ways to do this. You can simply submit purchase invoices from a manufacturer or a distributor, or you can submit a letter of authorization from the official brand. And let's take a look now at the specific requirements for each of these options. If you're using purchase invoices for brand authorization, here are the specific requirements. You need to upload at least one invoice for products from a manufacturer or a distributor, and that invoice must be dated within the last 180 days. It must include your name and your address exactly as it appears in your selling account. Any mismatches of this information can cause delays. The invoice must also include the name and address of the manufacturer or distributor you purchased from. You need to show a combined purchase of at least 10 units, and this can be across multiple products on the same invoice. If you prefer, you can redact or omit your pricing information for confidentiality. But one important note here is Amazon may verify that you submitted this documentation by contacting the product vendors you identify in your application. So make sure all that information is accurate and up to date. The second option for brand authorization is to submit a letter of authorization from the official brand. This letter must explicitly authorize your company to sell their products on Amazon. And just like invoices, the letter must be dated within the last 180 days. It needs to include your name and address exactly as it appears in your selling account, as well as the official brand's name and address. And when you submit this application, you'll also need to provide contact information, specifically the best email address to reach you for questions and optionally a phone number as well. I recommend providing a phone number also in this case, as it can speed up the verification process if Amazon needs to reach out to you quickly. This option is particularly useful if you have a direct relationship with the brand or if you are an authorized distributor. All brand authorization applications are managed through the Selling Application dashboard in Seller Central. To access it, go to your catalog, then add products, and look for the Apply to Sell option. In this dashboard, you'll be able to see the status of all your applications, including pending requests, approved brands, and any rejected applications, along with the reasons for that rejection. Processing time is typically 1 to 3 business days, though it may take longer if Amazon needs to verify your documentation with the brand or manufacturer. Keep an eye on this dashboard and respond promptly to any requests for additional information to avoid delays in getting approved to sell. But what if you don't own a brand or you aren't authorized to sell a specific product? Well, you have the option to list your products as generic. This doesn't require brand authorization and works for certain product types. However, if you do own a brand, I highly recommend enrolling in brand registry before you start your listing. To enroll, you need either an active registered trademark or a pending trademark application. Enrolling in brand registry gives you much better control over your product listings, provides protection against counterfeiters, and makes it easier to manage your catalog long term. There is a comprehensive brand registry guide in Seller University, and I also recommend watching the video How to Resolve Error 5665, which covers listing strategies for both generic and branded products. If you list the product as generic now and later want to add your brand name, you'll have to create the listing from scratch, losing any reviews or sales history. So if you own a brand or are interested in setting up your brand, it's worth taking the time to enroll in brand registry first. To get started with this brand registry process, navigate to Brands, build your brand in Seller Central main navigation on the left-hand side, then click on View Registered Brands. For more in-depth information, like I said, that video of resolving the error 5665 walks you through that listing of your brand, both with and without a trademark, as well as for generic products. The approval for branded products can take 14 days. So if you know this is something that you will need to do, start the process now so you can begin listing as soon as possible. We recommend applying for the brand name approval even if you do not have that registered trademark, because while the process is longer at first, it can save you time later down the line. You complete this application during the listing process, prompted when you enter that brand name. One of the benefits of doing this is that later, when you get that trademark, you only need to contact seller support to sync your newly registered brand name with your existing listing. However, if you've listed that product as generic, it cannot later be synced to a registered brand name. You will need to create a new listing. Step 4 is to determine whether your product already exists in the Amazon store. This is important because it determines which listing method you'll use. There are 3 ways to list products on Amazon. First is to search and match, which is a one-by-one process where you search for a product that already exists on Amazon and match your offer to that existing listing. Second is to create a new product listing, also one by one, where you create a brand new listing from scratch because the product doesn't currently exist on Amazon. And third, bulk uploads, where you can list multiple products at once using an Excel template. And this works for both matching to existing products and creating new listings. We'll cover the details of each method in our upcoming Listings Creation Basics webinar, but for now, it's important to understand that you need to know whether your products already exist on Amazon before you begin that listing process. The 5th And final step in your pre-listing checklist is to have all of your product information and images prepared and ready to go. This includes product titles, which should be 50 to 100 characters and include brand, model, color, and quantity. You'll need product bullet points, 3 to 5 key features and benefits, each under 120 characters. Have your product dimensions ready, including the length, the width, height, and weight, as well as package dimensions for shipping. And critically important, have your product images prepared. Images must be high resolution with a minimum of 1,000 pixels. Your main image must have a white background, and you should have multiple images showing the product from different angles. We recommend between 2 to 6 images as your minimum. Having all of this information prepared before you start listing will make the process much faster and smoother. I highly recommend watching the Intro to Product Detail Pages video in Seller University, which goes into detail about best practices for each of these elements. All right, let's quickly recap this 5-step pre-listing checklist that we've gone through. And if you've just joined us now, don't worry at all. There is a version, or there will be a version of today's webinar uploaded to our Sell on Amazon YouTube channel for South Africa. And later, if not in a couple of minutes, we will also be dropping today's presentation down in the chat. So you'll be able to go back to that video recording on YouTube with today's presentation and do a little bit of self-learning. If you need any assistance over and above this, you can reach out to us at the Seller Success Center. We do also have a free listing initiative that you can take advantage of to help you with creating these listings. So don't stress at all. Going over this recap now, the first step that we went through was determining if you can list in your chosen category. And remember, certain categories are currently unavailable, but keep an eye out for alerts when categories have been unlocked or opened. Secondly, is purchasing those GS1 barcodes or applying for a GTIN exemption if needed. Third, get your brand authorized by submitting either purchase invoices or a letter of authorization. Fourth, determine if your product already exists in the Amazon store, as this will determine your listing method. And fifth, have all your product information and images prepared and ready to go. Complete these 5 steps and you will be ready to start listing. All right. Before we move on to common listing errors, just going to take a quick sip of my tea and also offer you the opportunity or remind you and encourage you to pop your questions down in the chat. We are focusing on the pre-listing checklist today. However, if you've got another burning question relating to selling on Amazon, please feel free to ask it. Our moderators are here willing and ready and waiting to help you. Right. Now that we've hydrated the vocal cords again, let's talk about common listing errors and how to tackle them. First, you need to know how to check your listings reports to see if there are any errors. In Seller Central, click the catalog button, then go to the Add Products via Upload page. Look for the Monitor Upload Status section and click the Download Your Processing Report button. This report will show you any errors in your listings. The most common error codes you might encounter are error 6014, error 2003, 20003, and 20006, error 5665, which we covered earlier before, and 6024, error 8560, and error 8020. Let's take a look at what each of these means and how to fix them. Breaking down these common errors here now for you. Error 6014 means that your product matches a restricted product and will be removed. This usually means you're trying to list in a category that's not currently available. Error 20003 and 20006 are invalid image URL errors. Make sure that your URL has correct syntax and that you're using valid image file formats like GIF or GIF, JPEG or JPEG, TIFF or PNG or PNG. Errors 5665 and 6024 are brand name related errors, which means that you need brand authorization before you can list that product. Error 8560 means that your listing file doesn't contain all the needed attributes for the ASIN to be created. You're missing required information. And of course, error 8020 is an invalid standard product ID error, which usually means there's a problem with your GTIN or your barcode. There is a comprehensive common listing errors PDF available in Seller University that goes into detail about each of these error codes and exactly how to resolve it. I highly recommend downloading it and keeping it handy as you start listing. But remember, that search bar at the top of Seller Central is your best friend. If you have any questions, comments, concerns, or anything that you need to figure out, or there's an error code that we haven't mentioned here that you come across, you can always pop it in that search bar and the relevant help page will populate. If you encounter any of these errors that you can't resolve on your own, don't hesitate to contact Seller Support. You can click on the help button in the top right corner of Seller Central and you can search for your issue in the help library first. You might find an immediate answer there. But if not, you can open a case for specific questions. And remember, when you open this case, be as specific as possible about the error codes that you're seeing and what you've already done to try and fix the issue. Attach relevant documents or screenshots to help the support team understand your situation, and their response time is typically 24 to 48 hours, though urgent issues may be prioritized. Seller Support is here to help you succeed, so don't struggle alone. Reach out when you need assistance. To continue your learning journey, I recommend several Seller University resources, such as starting with Intro to Listing Products for a comprehensive overview, watch How to Resolve Listing Error 5665, which covers brand-related issues, review the product ID overview and applying for product ID or GTIN exemption videos if you need more detail on barcodes. And of course, download the guide to product detail pages PDF and the common listing errors PDF. These are excellent reference materials to keep handy. And of course, don't forget to register for upcoming webinars. In fact, I will see if one of my moderators can drop in the chat the webinar calendar that we have coming up for the rest of June and the beginning of July to prepare you for everything that you need to be a successful seller. Right, and with that, let's go and take a look at our questions, because that brings us to the end of the presentation. And now it is the time for you as the sellers to engage with us, ask us a couple of questions, pop your questions in the chat. We're opening up the floor for some Q&A, and we do have some time left over for these questions. So please feel free to ask about any of the 5 pre-listing checklist steps, category eligibility, product IDs, brand authorization, determining if your product exists on Amazon, or preparing your product information. You can also ask about those common error codes, or like I said, anything that relates to selling on Amazon. So let me take a look at our chat and see what we have. See if there's anything also in the moderated chat. Okay. I see that there was one that was fielded into our chat for the webinar. Thank you very much, moderation team. Good morning. Good morning. Hello. Why are some products approved and some products are not approved, but they're all from the same brand? Let's just go over the answer together. Hello, thank you for joining us today. Very polite moderation team. Even though your products are all from the same brand, each product is evaluated individually based on its own category requirements and compliance documentation. This means that some products may be approved immediately while others require additional documentation such as compliance test results, safety certifications, or category-specific approvals before they can go live. Very, very good point here. And especially if we're taking a look at the type of product that you're selling, right? There are a multitude of factors that come into play, such as, are you going to be inbounding these products to the fulfillment center? If so, we need to know what type of product it is, if there are any chemicals or anything that might be hazardous materials, so that we're ensuring that it is stored correctly. obviously packaged correctly, and if we're delivering it to the customer, that we're delivering it with the understanding that this package may or may not need additional care, right? Over and above that, regardless of your fulfillment method, whether you are choosing fulfillment by Amazon, you're utilizing Easy Ship, or you are self-shipping the items to our customers, understanding what the product specifications or ingredients, for lack of a better word, are in your products is very important. It's things that customers need to know, right? Does your item come with batteries included, or do I need to get the batteries myself? If they do come with batteries included and it's a children's toy, for example, has it gone through the compliance checks that are necessary in order to ensure the safety of the user of that particular toy, item, ingestible, clothing, whatever the case may be? So this is also why some are approved and some aren't, right, in terms of the documentation that you send through. Going back to the rest of the answer that our moderation team gave, being enrolled in brand registry grants brand level protections. Perfect. Thank you very much, Kelly. There is our seller webinar calendar for June if you'd like to download and register for a couple of other webinars that are coming up this month. So enrolling in it gives you that brand level protections, but it does not automatically approve all products for listing. I recommend checking the Manage All Inventory dashboard in Seller Central for specific error messages on the unapproved products, as this will indicate exactly what documentation or information is still required for each item. Once you submit the necessary compliance documents for an approved testing laboratory, those products should move through the approval process. Yes, so when you are selecting your item to start your listing, right, if you're filling in all the required information, you should be able to get past that point if you're giving us everything that is needed in terms of the details of your listing, right? However, we might still require compliance certification, product testing, safety, SAPRA certification, letters of authorization, or whatever the case may be. And then your listing would be suppressed, and it would ask you to fix the listing issue and either tell you you're listing in a blocked category or restricted category, or you actually as so this is almost definitely or Amazon, like I mentioned earlier, we have free listing initiative where we're going to 100 products. I have a little bit of sound issue. Let's just you are able to hear me or to just call me one in and everything's okay. Let me take a look here and see something quickly. Okay, perfect. Thank you very much. Apologies for that little technical issue. I do see that there is one question in the chat that our moderators are still getting to, asking about checking which categories are not available for listing, right? My best recommendation that I can give to you, right, apart from the Seller Central news articles, when you log into Seller Central, maybe you're aware of this and maybe you aren't, but at least after today, you'll be aware of it. Generally speaking, there are certain manners in which we communicate to our sellers these product launches, right? We would either send you a direct email communication to let you know this particular category is open for listing in. Alternatively, in the Seller Central news section, you log in, it's at the bottom right. Or if you search for seller news, there should also be a notification in that particular manner that shows you we have launched this particular category. You can now list in this category or whatever. But the easiest way that I can answer this question is try your listing, right? Off the top of my head, I know that large appliances and large furniture currently aren't things that can be listed through all of the categories. So whether it's home or kitchen or office, generally speaking, all of those heavy, bulky things currently aren't available to be listed now. But go through that listing journey, through that product listing journey to say, okay, I'm trying to list a cell phone cord. Let me see if I can go into the correct category under electronics for cell phone accessories or whatever the case may be. And at the beginning of your listing journey, if you see a little lock on that category, it should mean that you're unable to list throughout that whole product category, right? However, there will be certain categories where some of it is opened as well. So we recommend what you should do for those opened categories is that you list as much as you possibly can to the closest appropriate product listing type. And then what will happen at a later stage is Amazon will determine at a later stage if that particular product needs to be moved into a better category for listing. But this is also why your keywords, your product description, your titles, and your bullet points are really very important, because even if that journey of how you create your product listing is a little bit wonky, to say the least, it's more important that the customer knows how to find it. I might not, as a customer, be clicking in a category and going boom, 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 all the way down to find something. I might just be searching cell phone cable, right? USB-C charging, whatever. And that's why it's important to ensure that your listings have the right information. But if you're stuck, please, please, please reach out to our service providers. We are subsidizing the cost of up to 100 of your product listings. Our service providers are also very knowledgeable as to what is allowed on the store and what isn't allowed and what other information you might need to get those listings up. So definitely reach out and they'll be able to help you there. All right, perfect. Oh, perfect. Thank you very much. There was another question that got fielded directly to a seller, only because it was top and tailed. And I think what I'll do now is let me drop the presentation into the chat for all of you. Give me just 1 second. There we go. And perfect. So today's presentation is now officially in the chat. You can download both that as well as our seller webinar calendar for June and July. That's going to be supporting you through your learning journey and helping you get successful on Amazon. So the question in specific, which is why I dropped this in the chat, was the name of the barcode company, and that is gs1.org, right? Global Standards 1 is what the GS1 stands for, and the 1 is literally the number 1, but it is in today's PDF, and we use them to ensure that all products are globally saleable or sellable. If you already have a barcode on your product, it might already be GS1 approved, so you could also test in your listing journey, put that barcode in the respective field. If it doesn't pop through there, you can also utilize GS1's barcode verification tool on their website that you can use as well. All right, perfect. Another one's come through moderated for the chat, and we do have a little bit of time left over, so let's go through it. Can you please give more details submitting an invoice from a supplier? Do the 10 products have to be from one brand name, or can it be across different brands that I purchase from the supplier? So perfect. When submitting an invoice for brand approval, the products listed must be from the specific brand you're applying to sell. They cannot be spread across different brands, even if purchased from the same supplier. The invoice serves as proof that you have a legitimate supply relationship with that particular brand. So all items on the invoice need to reflect that brand. If you purchase products from multiple brands through the same supplier and wish to sell all of them, you would need to submit a separate selling application for each brand, each accompanied by its own invoice showing at least 10 products from the respective brand. Definitely go and take a look at that 5665 error code video. It will guide you through the whole process. Lots of learning information. And in fact, I speak under correction. You can double check in that webinar calendar, but coming up in the future will be a follow-along listing webinar in case you'd like to try these things yourself as well, right? You want to feel empowered. You don't just want to outsource the work to somebody else. You want to learn. We will be having a dedicated follow-along listing webinar for you to bring along your products and follow along with one of our specialists to get you sorted. All right, perfect. It looks like that second question is similar to the first one, or sort of bleeds on to that one. But I think at that 11:40 a.m. we are done. There's no more questions coming through the chat. What I would like to do, though, is encourage you. We do have a webinar coming up through today at 3 o'clock. If one of my moderators could, the link is actually in the Seller webinar calendar. If one of the moderators would like to drop the link in the chat, that's great. Otherwise, all the links for all of the webinars that we're hosting now in June are in that PDF document that's got that calendar in. You can already register today, and then it will send you reminders as to when the webinar is, so you don't have to stress and worry. Register now, forget about it, worry about it when we ping you to say, hey, webinar is coming up tomorrow or in an hour or whatever the case may be. But today in particular, we will be taking you through deal submissions and being deals ready, especially for this fantastic event that we are hosting this month. So if you want to learn a little bit more about how to submit the deals, the deal submission deadline, and the value that deals can bring to you as an Amazon seller, definitely join us at 3 o'clock today. Before you leave, in fact, I should have asked this, I think, while we were going through the question session, but that's not a problem at all. I would like to ask you, please, to just take a little bit of time. It shouldn't take you more than 2 to 3 minutes to fill out the survey that is currently on your screen. This really, really helps us ensure that we are tailor-making these sessions to your needs, that the content is relevant. I'm not too concerned about what you think of me as a presenter. Of course, that really does help. But more importantly, is this information getting you to where it needs to? And if not, how can we get you to where you need to be? There is also a little box at the bottom, a little free text box. So if you'd like to write something to us, either focused on today's webinar, the way that we communicate these webinars to you, anything at all, this is going to our Seller Success team, and of course, the team that brings you these webinars to help make sure we're giving you, as they say, bang for your buck. Although this is free, right? Education is free. All you need to do is connect, sit with us, and we're here to help and guide you. So thank you very, very much for taking the time out on this wonderful Friday, wherever you are, joining myself and my wonderful moderation team that has been working to ensure everything is running smoothly, the questions are answered, and of course, that technical glitch that we had didn't impact on you. I wish you a wonderful Friday further. Have a wonderful weekend, and of course, all the best for Prime Day coming up. From me, work hard, have fun, and make history. Ciao for now.